From 1977 to 1983, CHiPs conquered the world with breathtaking chases and strong camaraderie. But 40 years later, the truth was revealed and shocked fans. Most of the stars died tragic deaths, accidents, illnesses, broken marriages, and final moments of their lives have turned their lives into tragic tales. Is this too high a price to pay for fame? Let's explore the truth behind their fates. Clarence Gilliard as Benjamin Webster. At just 27 years old, Clarence Gilliard Jr. played police officer Benjamin Webster on CHiPs from 1977 to 1983. His arrival brought a new vitality to the California Highway Patrol, strong, young, and full of integrity. But behind his rising career, Clarence faced storms that no one else could really see. Those hardships gradually pulled him out of the spotlight. Clarence Alfred Gilliard Jr. was born on December 24, 1955, in Moses Lake, Washington. He grew up in a military family that moved frequently between bases in Hawaii, Texas, and Florida, leaving him with an unstable and uneventful childhood. Instead of being sheltered, Clarence soon spiraled into alcoholism. His constant drinking ruined his health and led him astray in the early years of his career. Behind the success of Top Gun and Die Hard, he faced hospital stays and physical pain that only his family could understand. The ravages of alcohol also caused his marriage to fall apart. Clarence was once married to Catherine Dutko, but the marriage quickly fell apart, leaving him heartbroken and with 2 small children. The heartbreak robbed him of any hope of happiness until he met Elena Castillo, who stayed by his side for the rest of his life and bore him 3 more children. Even with his new family, Clarence struggled in silence, hiding his persistent bouts of illness and self-destructive habits. On November 28, 2022, Clarence Gilliard Jr. breathed his last in Las Vegas after a long battle with illness at the age of 66. He left behind his wife, 6 children, and an estimated net worth of $5 million. His passing shocked both his colleagues and fans, as Clarence was not only an action star on screen, but also a dedicated theater professor at the University of Nevada. Marjorie Bennett as Mrs. Downey. At 81, Marjorie Bennett played Mrs. Downey, an eccentric old woman who caused chaos on the freeway with her clumsy antics in CHiPs 1977-1983. Audiences laughed at her wrong-way driving and witty lines, but behind those smiles was a bitter truth. Away from the limelight, this woman has lived through nearly a century of Hollywood turmoil. Marjorie Bennett was born on January 15, 1896, in York, Western Australia, a small town that was once known as a stopover for 19th century gold miners. Her childhood was not easy, and it was those hardships that drove her to the stage as a way to escape the monotony. She married William Cady Jr. in 1932, but the seemingly lasting marriage ended in heartbreak and loneliness when he died in 1976. His death left an unfillable void that overshadowed her final years. In addition to the pain of loss, Bennett also had to fight a cruel enemy: cancer. The disease took away her strength and gradually weakened her body, leaving her too weak to continue acting. The constant pain forced her to frequent hospital stays, and each time she returned home, she feared more and more that her time was running out. On June 14, 1982, Marjorie Bennett passed away in Hollywood, Los Angeles, after a long battle with illness. At the age of 86, she left behind an estimated net worth of $1 million, a modest sum considering her more than 60 years of filmmaking. Frank Parker as Clifford and Police Commissioner. Frank Parker took on the role of Clifford and police commissioner in the series CHiPs from 1977 to 1983 song at the age of 39. He brought to the audience a serious, mature character, perfectly suited to the patrol scene and Christmas-themed specials. Although his role was brief, it demonstrated the resilience of an actor who had spent years trying to make it in the American television industry. Behind the scenes, however, his real life was filled with unrelenting pain. Frank Russell Parker was born on July 1, 1939, in Darby and Pennsylvania. He pursued his acting dream from an early age and graduated from Carnegie Mellon University. But his career path was not very stable. His first marriage to Nola Donald Rajcock ended in divorce, leaving 3 children to grow up apart from their father. The tragedy was further compounded when his eldest daughter, Candace, died in 1999, leaving a scar that never healed. The grief of his family became a constant burden on his spirit, even as his career continued to produce beloved roles. After the pain of marriage and the loss of his family, Frank Parker faced another devastating battle: Parkinson's disease and dementia. The disease gradually robbed him of his memory, his voice, and the independence that had been his hallmark as an actor. A man who once confidently posed in front of the camera was now dependent on medication and the care of loved ones. His final years were a long battle against physical and mental decline, a battle that left his family and fans devastated. On September 16, 2018, Frank Parker passed away in Vacaville, California, at the age of 79, after a long battle with Parkinson's disease and dementia. He leaves behind an estimated net worth of $2 million, largely from his role as Sean Brady on Days of Our Lives and other television projects. His passing brings to an end a career that spanned more than half a century, leaving a huge void in the hearts of those who loved him. Jack Perkins as the drunk and the passenger. At 57, Jack Perkins became familiar with the image of a bumbling drunk in the film CHiPs from 1977 to 1983, appearing in 1978. He made audiences laugh with his wobbly gait and red face in the role, but the on-screen humor was just a mask to hide a bitter truth. Jack Perkins was born on September 19, 1921, in Medford, Wisconsin, into a working-class family. As an adult, he married Ruth Cora Aldrich in 1949, a marriage that lasted nearly 50 years until his death. His devoted wife was there for him, but even her love and sacrifice could not save him from the spiral of addiction. Her presence was a rock, but he still could not grasp the opportunity to free himself from the darkness. Alcoholism destroyed Jack Perkins both on and off screen. He was often cast as drunkards, his acting so natural that few realized he was merely reliving his own reality. The habit took its toll on his body, leading to dangerous car accidents and chronic liver disease. Once a strong, square-faced man, he became thin and frail, caught between work and dependency. The laughter he brought to audiences was actually a reflection of a life filled with tragedy. On March 7, 1998, Jack Perkins died in Van Nuys, California, at the age of 76, after years of battling complications related to alcohol. He left behind an estimated net worth of just $500,000, a modest sum considering his decades of appearances in film and television. After his death, his image continues to bring laughter to the audience, although it always contains a hidden sadness. Bruce Glover as Chuck Harris. At the age of 47, Bruce Glover appeared on the TV series CHiPs from 1977 to 1980. In the 1979 episode The Sheik, as Chuck Harris. Audiences quickly recognized him for his powerful acting style and angular face, which he made an impression on in Diamonds Are Forever. His performance in CHiPs is a testament to the perseverance of an actor who has dedicated his life to his craft. However, the spotlight could not hide the personal loss and tragedy he endured off-stage. Bruce Herbert Glover was born on May 2, 1932, in Chicago, Illinois, to a family struggling during the Great Depression. He married Betty Glover in 1960, and their marriage lasted more than half a century. Betty's love became his greatest source of emotional support throughout his turbulent life. When she died in 2016, Bruce lost the only partner who had ever protected him. That grief turned his old age into empty, lonely years that nothing could replace. After the death of his wife, Bruce Glover faced the loneliness and fragility of old age. He tried to maintain a few small acting classes in Los Angeles to maintain a last connection with the profession, but his health was increasingly failing, leaving him tired and exhausted. Even with 2 children, one of whom was Crispin Glover, the star of Back to the Future, the emotional distance left him living in quiet isolation. The man who once terrified audiences with his villainous roles was now the image of a lonely old man, suffering from both physical and mental decline. On March 12, 2025, Bruce Glover passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 92, after years of struggling with illness and loneliness. He left behind an estimated net worth of $1 million, a pittance for more than half a century of filmmaking. His passing left audiences with not only memories of a familiar villain, but also sadness for a life that ended in regret. Don Galloway. As Reed, in 1979, Don Galloway was 42 years old. He played Reed in CHiPs from 1977 to 1983. Despite his brief cameo, he left an impression with the maturity and mature demeanor of an actor who had become famous since Ironside. But behind that successful career was a life full of hardship that no one could imagine. Don Galloway was born on July 27, 1937 in Augusta, Kentucky, to a working-class family. From a young age, he showed a natural talent for acting, was encouraged to study, and later became a professional actor. His private life was not too noisy, but he carried with him a quiet loneliness as old age approached. Known as a person devoted to his profession, he lived away from the limelight in his later years. After leaving Hollywood, Don Galloway tried to maintain a normal life, even spending time working for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. However, his body gradually betrayed him. In late 2008, he suffered a sudden stroke, leaving him hospitalized in critical condition. His hospital stay was agonizing, torn between his desire to continue performing and the brutal reality of his illness. The audience never saw this, but those close to him witnessed the pain he endured. On January 8, 2009, Don Galloway died in Reno, Nevada, at the age of 71, after a 2-week battle with a stroke. He left behind an estimated net worth of $3 million, partly from a long television career and film projects. His death shocked colleagues and fans, as the man who had been a majestic police officer on screen finally succumbed to the incapacitation of the disease. Paul Linke as Arthur Grossman. When Paul Linke was 29 years old, audiences across America knew him as police officer Arthur Artie Grossman on CHiPs from 1977 to 1983. The gentle, awkward, yet warm Grossi brought a lightness to the tense chases of the highway patrol, and the role was a fixture for Paul for many years. However, behind his friendly smile was a life of loss that audiences could hardly imagine. Paul Linke was born on May 6, 1948, in New York. The son of Richard Otzert Linka, a manager and close associate of Andy Griffith. Despite being born into a wealthy family, Paul faced his own struggles on the road to Hollywood. He had small roles in The Babymaker, 1970, Big Bad Mama, 1974, and Grand Theft Auto, 1977, before finding his breakthrough in CHiPs. Paul Linke's perseverance through a strict upbringing and the harsh environment of the entertainment industry has molded him into an actor who is both authentic and resilient. His greatest tragedy in life came from his family. In 1978, he married Francesca Chex Draper and had 3 children together. But just 8 years later, cancer took his beloved wife away, leaving Paul to raise their young children alone. The pain was so great that he sought to turn his loss into strength. He wrote and performed Time Flies When You're Alive, a poignant story of love and death that brought audiences to tears. The stage became a place where he confronted his pain, turned his personal sorrow into art, and revealed a wounded heart that never gave up. Now 77, Paul Linke continues to contribute to the arts, although mostly through small roles and personal theater projects. After remarrying Christine Healy in 1991 and welcoming another daughter, he found some peace in his life. His net worth is estimated at $2 million, but his true worth lies in his ability to overcome loss and continue living, loving, and creating. Paul Linke is remembered not just as the grumpy guy in CHiPs, but as living proof that the human spirit can transform pain into an immortal legacy. CHiPs's glory days are long gone, but the tragedies behind its stars still send shivers down audiences' spines decades later. Is there a cruel curse that haunts those who have lived in the limelight? If you want to discover more hidden truths behind Hollywood stars, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next shocking stories. Erik Estrada as Frank Poncherello. When Erik Estrada was 28, he became a television star with his role as Francis Poncherello on CHiPs, 1977-1983. His witty, charming role as a highway patrolman made him a global icon. His face appeared on magazine covers, in countless interviews, and in the hearts of millions of viewers. It seemed like a perfect dream, but behind the halo of glory were hidden pains that only he could truly understand. Erik Estrada was born on March 16, 1949 in East Harlem, New York, to a poor Puerto Rican immigrant family. His childhood was spent on narrow streets, where the honking of horns and smog drowned out the innocent dream of a boy who wanted to become a police officer. As his parents struggled to make ends meet, Erik soon realized that the only way out of poverty was through his own relentless efforts. Behind Ponch's bright smile was a childhood filled with questions about how to overcome hardship. Estrada's adult years were further marked by tragedy as his marriages continued to fall apart. His first marriage to Joyce Miller ended after just a year, leaving a bitter void. His relationship with Peggy Rowe produced 2 sons, but also ended in divorce, turning domestic bliss into a wound that would not heal before it began to bleed again. It was only with his third marriage to Nanette Mirkovich that Erik found some peace, although the memories of his failed relationships still haunted him. Behind his strong on-screen persona is a man who has repeatedly collapsed under the weight of love wounds. Today, at 76, Erik Estrada still appears at public events, although age and health have taken their toll on his once iconic 1,970 AS face. His net worth is estimated at $4 million, a figure that cannot compensate for the losses he has suffered, but somehow reflects the rewards of a lifetime of dedication. When audiences remember Erik Estrada, they think not only of his powerful punch on a motorcycle, but also of a man who experienced poverty, broken marriages, and physical and mental injuries, but remained resilient, immortalized in the memories of his fans. Robert Pine as Joseph Getrayer. Robert Pine, 36, joined CHiPs from 1977 to 1983, playing Sergeant Joseph Getrayer, Ponch and John's stern but compassionate supervisor. His portrayal of a commander who combined toughness and compassion made him a familiar face throughout the 6 seasons of the show. With over 400 television episodes under his belt, Pine has made a name for himself not only in the CHiPs community, but also in the hearts of American audiences for decades. Robert Pine was born on July 10, 1941, in New York, to an intellectual family. His father was a patent attorney, and his mother was Virginia Whitelaw. His path to Hollywood was not easy. Before he found his footing, he struggled with supporting roles in westerns while under contract with Universal. Those years were challenging, as Robert learned to ride a horse to play a cowboy while trying to establish himself among the established stars. His disciplined upbringing and difficult early career gave him the patience needed for a long journey. After marrying actress Gwen Gilford in 1969, Robert Pine experienced his fair share of ups and downs. His wife also appeared in CHiPs as Betty Getrayer, creating a special bond between the screen and the real world. However, the pressures of work, a hectic filming schedule, and family responsibilities often left him stressed. Raising 2 children, including Chris Pine, who later became a Hollywood superstar, was a challenging journey. In addition to the limelight, Robert's life was also a delicate balance between career and family. Now 84, Robert Pine is still making movies and doing voiceovers, a rare feat for a veteran actor. His net worth is estimated at $4 million, but that figure doesn't do justice to a career that has spanned more than 6 decades. He is remembered not only as CHiPs Sergeant Getrayer, but also as the father figure who nurtured and inspired Chris Pine, a star of a new generation. Robert's life ended, from a struggling young actor to a television icon, and finally the pillar of an artistic family. David Cassidy as Keith. At the age of 29, David Cassidy appeared in the series CHiPs from 1977 to 1983. In 1979, Keith Uptimau, a brief cameo, but enough to evoke memories of the teen idol who had taken the show by storm in the 1100. Audiences recognized Keith Partridge's familiar voice and smile, then fell silent as they sensed a storm brewing behind the stage lights. His appearance in CHiPs had broadened his path from television to music, but the journey itself had brought with it cracks that would never heal. David Bruce Cassidy was born on April 12, 1950 in New York City, into an artistic family where talent blossomed early, and so did the pressure. His childhood was spent without his parents, busy with touring schedules, and that loneliness planted the seeds for him to turn to alcohol for comfort. Fame came too quickly, and by his early 20s, he was clinging to alcohol like a lifeline, a rope that was slowly pulling him down. In the years that followed, David Cassidy lived with a cruel companion called alcoholism, and it was this companion that pushed him through drunk driving arrests, through concerts where he lost his memory, and through hospital rooms where doctors talked about liver disease. The artist who once drove stadiums crazy with his craze, Cassidy, admitted to lying to himself about quitting drinking, confessing that he drank to fill a void that nothing else could fill. His path to sobriety was always shorter than his path to relapse, and each attempt to recover left him with more wounds than the last. On November 21, 2017, David Cassidy died of liver failure at the age of 67, ending a life that wandered between glory and abyss. His estimated net worth of $500,000 by the end was just a figure that reminded the world of concerts long gone. The last image that remained was of the singer lying quietly under the hospital lights, where his words, despite the time wasted, echoed like a final confession that touched everyone's heart. Larry Wilcox as John Baker. When Larry Wilcox was 30 years old, he became a familiar face to millions of viewers as Officer Jonathan John Baker on CHiPs from 1977 to 1982. The serious, calm veteran, the complete opposite of his partner Ponch, left an indelible mark on American television audiences in the late 1970s. But behind the tough, disciplined image of a road patrol officer is a tumultuous real life and personal tragedy that few people know about. Larry Wilcox was born on August 8, 1947, in San Diego, California, but grew up in Rawlins, Wyoming. He and his 3 siblings were raised by their mother after their father abandoned the family. Those difficult years shaped Wilcox into a strong, independent man. His harsh childhood instilled in him a desire to protect justice. But before entering the arts, he chose the military. As a U.S. Marine, Wilcox fought in Vietnam during the Tet Offensive in 1968. The memories of war, blood, and loss haunted him for the rest of his life, leaving him with both pride and scars that never fully healed. Wilcox's personal life was also turbulent. His first marriage to Judy Wagner began shortly after he left the military, but ended in divorce despite having 2 children. His second marriage to Hannie Strasser also fell apart, although they had a daughter together. It was not until his third marriage, to Olympic athlete Marlene Harmon, that Wilcox found some peace. But the pain of his previous failures left deep scars. In 2010, he fell further when he was convicted of securities fraud and given a 3-year suspended sentence, a scandal that further tarnished his public image. Today, at 78, Larry Wilcox is a man whose life has been defined by extremes. From a poor boy in Wyoming to a Vietnam veteran, to a TV star, to a man scarred by broken marriages and brushes with the law. His journey not only reminds us of John Baker, but also the real pain that followed him beyond the spotlight. His estimated net worth of $1.5 million pales in comparison to the toll he took through poverty, war, divorce, and humiliation. Heather O'Rourke as Lindsay. Heather O'Rourke was only 7 years old when she appeared in the series CHiPs from 1977 to 1983. In 1983 as Lindsay, a small role but enough for the audience to recognize her innocence and clear eyes. That brief appearance became a memorable milestone in Heather's youthful artistic journey, as she once made the whole world shudder with her role as Carol Ann in Poltergeist. While the audience smiled at her sweet beauty, few realized that a cruel fate had begun to follow Heather's every step. Heather Michelle O'Rourke was born on December 27, 1975 in San Diego and California, into an ordinary working-class family. Her childhood was turned upside down by her parents' divorce in 1981, leaving an emotional void that was difficult to fill. However, a great opportunity came unexpectedly when director Steven Spielberg discovered her talent during an intimate lunch at MGM. From that moment, Heather stepped into Hollywood with fragile shoulders, but carrying with her the pressures beyond her age, pushing her innocent life down a path of no return. In the years that followed, Heather continued to play roles, but her tiny body was ravaged by a rare intestinal disease. A misdiagnosis forced her to take cortisone shots from a young age, performing on set while enduring constant pain. Behind the bright smiles in front of the camera, were long nights of exhaustion as the disease robbed her of her childhood and vitality. The pain was made even more heartbreaking by the fact that everyone believed Heather was healthy while she silently suffered to continue completing her role. On February 1, 1988, Heather O'Rourke suddenly collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital in cardiac arrest. Doctors restarted her heart, but emergency surgery was unable to save her life. Heather took her last breath at the age of 12, sending shockwaves through Hollywood like never before. Her estimated net worth of $1 million could not make up for a life taken too soon.